Introducing the all-new Phoibos Leviathan. Yup, that's right, the Leviathan is back. And this time, it's ready to conquer more wrists with its downsized case. If you loved the rugged masculine vibe of the original, but couldn't quite handle that massive 45mm frame, this one is for you. And don't worry, the Leviathan DNA is still all here. It's sharp, angular, and geometrical throughout, so you still get that bold wrist presence that the original had in spades. The lugs have blunt tips and they do taper down aggressively, and the entire case is completely brushed for that matte tool watch aesthetic. The bezel is a fully lumed matte black sandblasted ceramic, and I gotta say, I love the look. But how does it feel and how does it sound? Just a tad less harsh than the typical microbrand bezel, but very clicky and no backplay. However, the grip isn't the greatest. The bezel has smoothed out edges at the cardinal positions, and that's where there's no grip. So we all know the old Leviathan was a beast coming in at 45mm, but it did have 500 meters of water resistance. This new one, on the other hand, because it's downsized, now has 200 meters of water resistance, which, in my opinion, is plenty. And speaking of sizing down, what are those dimensions? Well, I got 40mm in diameter, a secret measurement of 30, and we got a thickness of 13 with no drilled lugs and a lug-to-lug of 48mm. Now I say it wears like a small 40. Even with that longer reach, the small secret measurement keeps it all in check. But you guys be the judge on the faraway shots and let me know how it wears. Now, Phoibos always comes out swinging when it comes to Lume, and the new Leviathan is no exception. They applied 15 layers of Swiss Superluminova BGW9 and it shows. These Phoibos divers pretty much outperform every diver in its price category and even 5 times its price. The only watches that are brighter in my memory is the luxury Seikos, the SLA line. So this downsized Leviathan is looking pretty good, but something they never downsized is the crown. It's a beefy 7.8mm, and even when you pull it out to the second position, it's solid, there's no wobble. During my testing, I tried to cross-thread it and mess it up, but it would not miss a step. So great build quality on the crown. And something interesting about Phoibos you might not know is they always go the extra mile with a double gasket in the case back. Totally not needed, it's a nice to have and it's a feature found on luxury watches. Now I mentioned the case back, it's a looker. It's got a flat profile, it doesn't protrude into your wrist, which I love, and the Phoibos Kraken logo is milled out. And even the way you open the case back, it's got porthole style openings on that case back, which are much better than the typical squares that usually run along the edge of the round case back. This method Phoibos uses is more secure and you're not going to get a scratched up case back because it's very easy to open. Now let's talk about the bracelet. It's 20mm and it tapers down to 18. Usually I prefer a bigger taper, but on the beefy Leviathan, they made a good choice sticking with 18 at the clasp. Everything of course is solid and fixed via screws. The clasp is fully milled with a twin button release system and it's signed with the Phoibos logo. And a pleasant surprise is it does have on the fly toolless micro adjustments. Oh yes, and I forgot to mention the end links. They are solid and they have quick release spring bars built in. Now the sapphire on the Leviathan is flat, and Phoibos treated it with 3 layers of anti-reflective coating on the underside. This provides a crystal clear view of the dial. The dial features a striking circular brushed pattern that really pops in the sunlight. I also noticed that Phoibos improved the lume to hand ratio, unlike the previous version that had a tiny lume line down the middle of the hands. This one feels much more substantial and more balanced. The applied indices and date window are both sandblasted, maintaining the matte aesthetic, while the splash of red on the seconds hand and the word automatic adds just the right amount of contrast. I do wish, however, they put Leviathan on there instead of automatic. The dial is also a fume dial, as the edges are darker than the center of the dial. There is a printed chapter ring Phoibos logo, and they are both done in crisp white printing. Now let's talk about the movement. It's none other than the Seiko NH35. It's a 21.6 VPH hack hand wind automatic with 24 joules and 41 hours of power reserve. It's an affordable, reliable movement, not too much to complain about. And speaking of affordable, what is the new Leviathan going to cost you? Well, it retails for $330 USD, but Phoibos is running a discount until October the 13th. You have to use the code NR65, it's on their website, and that will bring it down to $265. That's impressive. You just don't see these prices anymore, especially for such a well put together product. Links to the Phoibos website will be down in the description, but before you guys jump, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.